I was born ready. The awkward silence is me opening up my app to figure out what episode. Is it 24? I don't know why this is so hard.
I'm not sure why it matters, but I know that it matters to you.
It doesn't matter. And I don't listen to a ton of podcasts, but episode 24. But the ones I do sometimes don't even mention the episode. So I don't know why it matters. I think it matters because the fact that we did episode 2 is a big feat.
And now we're at 24.
And now we're at 24. So How to Ski It podcast, episode 24, loud breather Ryan. He doesn't have headphones is why. Yes, we are a professional studio. And we have dogs in the studio today, and there's a racquetball in the studio with the dogs. But more importantly, winter came and the forecast right before the holidays. So we had a dry spell. And I think sometimes we don't, I don't think we've ever identified like, hey, we're a Colorado skiing podcast, because we're not. But we really just talk about Colorado for the most part.
Where else do you go skiing?
Yeah, and I wish I went skiing more places. But we ski mainly in Colorado. We're going to talk a little bit about Utah today and the patroller strike. And unfortunately, lost a couple backcountry skiers in Utah over the holidays. And we'll talk about that. But first things first, tons of snow in Colorado. And it hasn't been big dumps until today. So today it's the 2nd of January, if that matters. And a lot of resorts reporting double digits or close to, which is the first time for a lot of resorts to report double digits this year. So major powder. And then before that, it was 2 to 4 inches a day for like 10 days.
Which is great.
Is the best. Big dumps are great. Everybody loves to ski deep powder, but nothing beats
2 inches a night, every night for a couple weeks, and
it makes it soft everywhere.
Well,
everywhere.
I would like to just say that not everyone loves big dumps. Like some people's little tiny legs really struggle in those big dumps of like regular powder. No, champagne powder everyone loves. But I just want to put it out there that not all of us have the fitness and strength in our legs for big powder.
Oh, man, I bet we just lost some listeners. I do think this, and I'm going to not pick on Mel, but point something out, is she's a little bit smaller, and so skiing 10, 15 inches of powder is harder. But she also, and not everybody can afford like 5 pairs of skis, but she also doesn't have the right skis for powder. That she's got a great, what is the Blizzard...
Black Pearl 88.
Yeah, the Black Pearl, one of the most popular skis
blue
made. But it's also like
they're blue.
90 underfoot or something like that.
They're 88 underfoot.
And so it's not made for big powder days. And not that everybody can afford powder skis, but one piece of advice, if you struggle with powder, consider renting or just trying out a pair of skis that are like 100 or more underfoot. And 100 underfoot isn't even a powder ski. That's my front mountain ski. But they go 106, 110, and we've talked on the show about the Deb Armstrong skis, which is a 116. So, and you would like powder a lot more because you sit on top of it.
What was the new term that we coined in Vail on Christmas?
PowderRoy.
Yes, PowderRoy.
Powder on top of corduroy.
Yeah.
Powder on top of corduroy, and we skied PowderRoy.
PowderRoy, I like that. That might be my favorite condition, and I've never known it.
It is hard. It is hard to beat.
PowderRoy.
Yeah. So we have Isabel Bowman with us too, which I may have just heard like a peep from.
Hi, everyone.
And Melinda and Ryan. And it's exciting because we've kind of had to force the podcast up and through this episode, because there hasn't been a ton to talk about, short of going to Loveland and skiing with the Schusters. But now it's everywhere's getting close to being open. I know Eldora's still got a little ways to go, but I think Vail's like close to 100% open. Copper's pretty much 100% open. I was at Winter Park and we noticed the panorama lift didn't start till like noon and didn't look like it had a lot of traffic on it. So I don't know if it's just opening. But
did you actually see people on the lift?
I saw people skiing, yes.
Oh, you did? Okay.
They might just be getting it tracked out just to pack down some of that.
Yeah, so not everywhere's 100% open, but we're getting close. And now it's that time of year where I look at the snow report every morning, and that's how I plan my day. And we're planning to cut out of here and do some skiing this afternoon.
Yeah, so snow report said 9 inches at Eldora, 10 inches at Copper, 7 at Winter Park, 4 at Vail, 5 at A Basin. But looking at Eldora's snow stake cam just a few minutes ago, it's almost at 12 inches.
Yeah.
Which is, you talk about, there wasn't, Izzy and I were up there yesterday. There wasn't a ton open. They still need some help. This is going to help. This is going to get the ball rolling, especially if they can get a couple more little storms like we talked about, 1-2 inches a night on top of this 12, 13 inches that the storm might drop. Eldora is going to be in a good spot. And it was in a good spot yesterday.
Yeah, it was really nice. The wind was kind of brutal, but it helped create some powder on the outsides, and
Yeah.
it's great to ski.
It's Eldora. It's going to be windy.
Yeah.
You just nailed it there. And something I did want to talk about today is like understanding the conditions. And I feel like I'll tell you the success story we had at Vail over the weekend, but understanding the conditions, understanding where to go, and understanding at Vail that, yes, it's always windy, but that
Eldora.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. What did I say?
Vail.
Vail. You
Yeah.
got Vail on the brain.
It's always windy. Don't ever go to Vail. It's cold. There's no good snow.
But at Eldora, it's windy frequently, but that pushes the snow to the sides of the runs. And as the area gets more open, if you've ever seen what a snow fence does, they plant a snow fence out on, the plains of Wyoming, and the snow gathers on the other side of that. And that's exactly how it is at Eldora. The trees work as a snow fence. And if you ski that side, and a lot of the runs we ski at Eldora, and this isn't for the whole mountain, but that would be your skier's left, especially on the back. Yeah, great conditions. And I'll bet this morning, because the wind blew and it snowed a foot, I'll bet there's 2 feet of powder in some of those areas.
I bet if you got into Bryan Glades today, because it's been closed, I think there's some access to it from the Corona run. But when they open that, it's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
With 12 inches of fresh and then the wind blown and it's untouched.
And just looking at the On the Snow app, and we've talked about apps, and the one I'm using this year is the On the Snow app. You can see the last 5 days, and I don't follow every mountain, so I have my preferred mountains. But Eldora has 20 inches in the last 5 days. Winter Park has 20-some. Arapahoe Basin, 20-some. Copper, 20-some. Vail, a little bit less, 15-ish. Keystone, 15-ish. And then Aspen, 20-some. And then the southern Colorado,
Not good.
No, like 2 inches at Telluride in the last 5 days.
Which stinks, because I was kind of hoping that they were that we were going to do another trip up there this year, and that this month, and that it was going to be awesome, because last time we went, it was still great skiing, but the snow conditions were poor, and there was a lot of hazards on the runs.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as to say the conditions were poor, but they were less than favorable. And we'd come from Aspen, from powder skiing to dust on crust and Telluride last year, but hoping for better. So all in all, Izzy's kind of new to the game. How'd it go yesterday?
It was really fun. I have really found enjoyment in skiing, no matter my ability, but it's fun to try and work to get better and keep up with all of you guys and ski with Ryan and like mimic his turns. That's the best way that I found I can get myself to do the harder runs, is just follow, like when we were at Aspen last year, following Mel going down some bumps. It's just like, all right, she did that turn, I'm going to go mimic exactly what she did. And it's fun to learn from you guys and have you guys be patient and wait for me halfway if I'm not as fast. But yeah,
How's your confidence level? Because that was like, you have the skills. How's your confidence? How's your PMA?
It was good yesterday. We found some really good powder, and I was able to make some what I think are good turns. Ryan can speak more into that, but it's definitely getting a lot higher as I feel a lot more comfortable and making sure I'm practicing all the little tidbits I've gotten from you guys or TikTok or whoever I'm learning on. But
she's selling herself short. She was a little speed racer yesterday. Like more than once, she was waiting on me because I was trying to make as many turns as possible, get in and get out. And
you're
she's
also out of ski shape too.
Yeah, I'm definitely out of ski shape. It was the first time back skiing since our trip to New Zealand. We went there for work and put on the World Championship event, and then stayed for 10 days, and then got back to the States, and it was time to get back on skis.
It was summer there, so we had a little mid-winter summer vacation.
Yeah,
so
it was weird.
Out of ski shape.
Out of ski shape, but no, she's progressing very well, and before you know it, she's going to be better than all of us.
Well, she is an uber athlete.
Yeah.
So,
She's cheating.
yes.
Cheating.
I crossed I get bombarded with Instagram and Facebook, but I crossed somebody on Facebook, but I think it directed me to their Instagram. And if you're wanting to learn of ski technique and new to the game, I couldn't believe how good this person's advice was. Her name is Hannah Mellon, and her moniker is Hannah Skier. And oh my gosh, like I was so impressed of how well she delivers the content and how much of it's focused on confidence and positive attitude and I've been a big believer in that a lot of skiing happens in the head. So if you want to follow her, Hannah_MELINN or just Hannah Skier, and that's how I just found it, is put in Hannah Skier. But great advice on how to get started skiing.
Had you knew of her, Izzy? Yeah.
Yeah. She came up on my Instagram because I was just looking on Instagram of what's open, and I was looking at a bunch of different resorts, and she was like a recommended person. And yeah, just the way that she delivers the information, you're like, oh, that makes complete sense. Like it's like tangible things that you can understand and do, which make skiing when you get on the mountain a little bit easier, because you're like, she just said, put my knees closer together, like try and feel that they touch once in a while, and it's like, I can do that. Little baby things, and you're like, I can do that, and then all of a sudden you're making turns and you're going fast. And
wait a minute, didn't Mel tell you your zippers? You should feel your zippers on your knees touching. Yes,
she's getting her advice from Mel. Turns out.
Yes, I think that's probably true.
I got good advice from her yesterday on pole plants, which I can't wait to ski today. And that's something that I at least feel sloppy for me, and so that's something I want to work on. But there's lots of good information out there. But anyway. Welcome to the game.
Talking about pole plants, yesterday I knew I was getting fatigued because I kept missing pole plants. Like once or twice it went to the inside of my ski and then in between my legs. And I was just like, what is happening? Like why this is not what? And then I realized halfway down the run, oh yeah, I don't have the fitness to ski.
And we preach all year about fitness and how important it is for skiing. And whatever the last day I skied, yesterday, the day before, was my 10th day of the year. I've always said try to get 10 days in, even if there's bad conditions. In this case, there's been good conditions, so we probably should have had more than that. But even as much as I preach about fitness, I can feel that that's my weak spot. Is my fitness is what did me in the other day, and we'll talk about it. Me and Mel went and skied Vail 3 days.
Yep.
Oh wow.
Excellent conditions. We didn't hit the crowds. We saw the crowds, and something I wanted to mention is Vail has this app it's the Epic app, and it's incredible because you can look on and see the lift lines and then just don't go to those lifts. And yes, it's a gigantic mountain. It's one of the biggest in the country. And I've been skiing there for a long time, so I know my way around. So it's hard to know what lift lines mean. And if you go to this lift, where's it going to get you? But over 50 years of skiing at Vail, we've learned all that stuff and skied on Saturday and Sunday and essentially didn't hit any lift lines. Wow. At one time, we came down to the gondola, and it looked like it was like 5 to 10 minutes. And so we just went singles.
Yep.
and everybody in Vail's in groups. So the singles line is a free pass on the lift line.
Yeah, and I would say like when we go to Vail and we are doing a day trip, we leave at 5 a.m.
Got to be on I-70 in Colorado by 6 a.m. And I don't mean I-70 in Lyman. I mean I-70 in Golden.
It's like US 6 and
Yeah.
I-70 by 6 a.m.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so for us, it's the same. Leave at 5, get to that point by about 6.
So we did that on Christmas morning. We got up at the crack of dawn and got up there, went and had our favorite breakfast spot that we talk about all the time. That's too expensive, but is amazing.
Way too expensive.
What's it called?
It's called Tavern on the Square.
And I know everyone has been waiting with bated breath to find out what the name of the actual restaurant is, since we never know. And this time, Tavern on the Square.
Yeah, and we went back, and it just is unbeatable. It's expensive. Like, I'll be honest, it's $40 a person for breakfast. So to get your value out of it, you have to overeat and then going and skiing.
Yeah, but we overate. Their lattes are amazing. And then we were at the lift line 10 minutes before it opened, Christmas morning, got up. I mean, we skied our yayas out. Adult skiing, I might say, if everyone is familiar with the term adult skiing. And then we're over to my sister's in Breck for Christmas lunch, and we retired.
The PowderRoy.
The PowderRoy.
Yeah, and
So good.
man, and you won't hear me ever say anything bad about Vail. I love Vail, but it is adult skiing. If you want to go, and I think it was Saturday, we skied 23,000 vertical feet. And it wasn't near as hard as the 8,000 vertical feet I skied at Mary Jane the other day, which is not adult skiing.
But I will give Vail, you have choices. We made choices. Like, we chose to ski steep and groomers versus Mary Jane, where we skied bumps.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing about Mary Jane, is there's no way around it. Let's go back to Vail really quick. And we've talked about know the conditions, in Colorado, know what direction north is. Because if the runs are facing north, they're not getting hit by the sun, especially this time of year. The sun's low enough in the sky that it doesn't hit a lot of the northern facing runs, which means the snow is really good. And we really capitalized that on Vail. And if you're looking for a good place to ski at Vail, I'm not a huge fan of the back bowls, but there are a couple really good runs back there. And two of them, one is called Never and the other one's called Seldom. Never and Seldom, and you access those off Lift 17, or I think it's called the Sundown Bowl or maybe the Sun Up Bowl. One of those.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of the Sun Up Bowl or the Sundown Bowl, but if you ski around the back of it and ski Never and Seldom. And then another run we found was Over Yonder, and that faces north.
Yeah, but honestly, Yonder, I feel like, is a hit or miss.
But it was hit.
It was hit, yeah.
So we had all you can eat powder skiing on Saturday. And you see these photos of these lift lines. And I don't know where those people were skiing, because we skied on Saturday powder until I just couldn't. And I wanted an easy way down at the end of the day. I didn't want to ski a powder run at the end of the day. So kudos, hats off to Vail.
Well, then you were talking about a run you used to ski as a kid.
Yeah.
Hairbag Alley, I think it was called.
And it's funny because I told Ryan, remind me to mention Hairbag Alley. And he said, is that the real name? And it is.
We make up a lot of our own jargon and terminology. And that's why I was like, is it really Hairbag Alley, or is it called like Dave's Ravine?
I didn't make this one up, but so it's off. Yeah, you get to it from chair 11. And you basically have to access it from like a green circle. And what it is it's a riverbed, and it's fairly long. I would say it's a half mile maybe of a riverbed where you're down in a natural half pipe that's full of moguls and rock features and fallen trees. Absolutely. And I hadn't skied it since I was a kid. So maybe 30 years, at least 20 years. And man, we were cool kids, because what an awesome run. And if you get a chance to go to Vail, it's either labeled a black diamond or a double black. I can't remember.
I think it's a single black.
Either way, don't go in there if you're not an advanced skier because there's no way out. Like you would have to take your skis off and hike up the side of like the riverbed ravine. But
well, and I didn't even go in because so there are two entrances. The top entrance was closed, and then they had a side entrance, and there were logs or rocks was really your way in. And I was like, I'm not doing this. It was like a really steep entrance in, and there was no way to get in without doing something to your ski.
That's how you know it's good.
And it was good.
That's how you know it's good.
And it wasn't like Mel's right. When I got there, I was like, uh-oh. That was it. It was all snow after that.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, but I was afraid it wasn't going to be all snow because Vail is one of those ski resorts, like I said, adult skiing. There's not a lot of things that have to be covered by the snow there. Like they get rid of rocks and trees and things so that they can just, a little bit of snow goes a long way in Vail. But when I saw that, I was like, if it's that bad getting in, what's it going to be like in there? And I just passed.
Yeah. Hairbag Alley, though, I'll say, is easily one of my favorite runs in Colorado. And then somewhere else we skied, which is not adult skiing, is Chair 10 at Vail. And man, it's like Mary Jane. There's great mogul skiers over at Chair 10. Nobody skis Chair 10 because it essentially just services 3 bump runs. Blue Ox, Highline, and Rogers, which we grew up calling Roger's, so I still call it Roger's. I don't think it was ever called Roger's, but when we were kids, we were told that's what it was called. But it's just Rogers. But I did have a fun experience on Rogers. It's a world-class mogul run, and I shot into it. Mel went a different way, so I was going to try to ski it top to bottom without stopping. And I went by some kids that I would say were like middle teens, and they took offense to me like skiing by them.
That's awesome.
As you would have as a kid.
Yeah. And so then
Who's
they
this guy?
started skiing, and then I had to stop because I was about to go into cardiac arrest. And this is where fitness would have went a long ways. So then they skied down a little bit further, and then they had to stop. So I was like, time to say goodbye, kids. And when I went by them the second time, they really took offense. Like when they turned around and saw me coming, they started. And we skied another like 500 vertical feet of moguls. And then I just went, ouch, quit it.
They beat you.
Yeah, no, they waited at the bottom to see me finish.
Oh my gosh.
Did you give him like a high five?
I did.
You were like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And when my fitness is back, I would doom children like that. But I wish I had connected with them because these kids were world class.
I mean, if they're kids skiing at Vail, you know,
Yeah,
they
they're
got some skills.
World class skiers on a world class run on a
Yeah.
world class day. Took the old man to the woodshed.
Yeah.
And I came down and saw Mel, and she's like, "How was it?" I was like, "I just got my ass kicked."
Beep.
So anyway, not to just fawn over Vail all day, but understand your conditions, learn the mountain, because like I said, we avoided lift lines, and then we went to Winter Park yesterday or the day before,
New Year's
2 days
Eve.
ago, and when we left Winter Park, it was the most crowded I'd ever seen it, but we didn't really wait in lift lines all day. And it's just understanding why are you there, what is the kind of skiing you want to do, and then how do you avoid the people. Well, we just wanted to ski. We didn't want to do adult skiing.
No.
And so we just wanted to ski the moguls at Mary Jane. So we rode the 2-person Challenger lift. It's kind of slow. It takes forever, but there's no lift line, and you need the rest.
Yes.
That was going to be my comment. Is it's the greatest lift ever after just beating yourself to death on Mary Jane, sitting there for 10 minutes. I wish I had a footrest
And
Oh my god.
on the bar.
Okay.
There isn't any. I mean, that lift is so old. There is no like bar.
Yeah.
There's no protection. You're in.
Oh
Two
my
people hold on to the
But can you imagine if
armrest.
it had a footrest?
Yeah.
you don't go too high on that lift. That is interesting that we talked about on the last podcast, people falling off. And the bar is going to become mandatory. The bar, since our last podcast in Colorado, has become amazingly more popular. I mean, I feel like at Vail, most people ask to bring the bar down, which is fine. And we talked about this.
We didn't have a single one yesterday.
No takers?
Interesting.
No takers. Oh, yeah.
And it was windy too. And
Yeah, almost every...
Interesting. That's very interesting. It makes sense.
Lift at Vail.
yeah.
I think the Challenger's also a Yan lift.
It might be. It's an old one like
It's
that.
old, yeah.
And you know what else we were talking about when we were skiing Winter Park the other day is I'll bet I've ridden that lift more than any other lift in my life. And Mel's like, well, what about Pauly? Well, Pauly's new. I mean, it's the same.
It's gone. Well, the original's gone, yeah.
Yeah, this is the original Challenger. Another one that probably has a bunch of runs for me is the Super B.
Yeah.
Because it's new in the 90s, which sounds new to me, but that's 30 years ago. And then another one would be the A-Lift at Copper Mountain, or all have been around forever and service great skiing. And then before we leave Vail, if you do go to Vail and you don't know where to go and you want to ski good skiing without people, Chair 3 was another one. And there's a thing called the Chair 3 trees, which are as good as skiing on the mountain of Vail, and nobody skis Chair 3 for some reason. I don't know why.
How many chairs total are there at Vail?
A zillion. I do know.
Literally.
You just keep saying numbers, and I'm like, does it ever end? How many chairs?
And it doesn't. I mean, there's a chair 39. If you open it up. I don't think there's 39.
Yeah.
There might be. Here, well, we can look because on the Snow app will tell you how many of each. It's an astronomical number. It says 27 of 33 lifts are open.
Yeah.
That's
So
insane.
Aspen, Snowmass, but they're combining their areas, so that doesn't even count. We're not even going to count them. Copper Mountain, 24.
Breck 35.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Snowmass 41, but like you said, they're cheating.
And I wanted to. I was willing to ski Breckenridge over the holidays, but I don't know where to go. So that's why I was like, and we talked about going on New Year's Eve to Keystone, and I used to ski Keystone a lot, but I don't really as much, and so I don't really know where to go to avoid lift lines, and that's why it was Winter Park or Vail.
Yeah, and I think we ran into it at Eldora yesterday on New Year's Day. We got up early. We got there. We were skiing by 9:30, and no one was there. I think the holiday season is also a time that you can kind of risk it, and you're probably going to be okay if you're there in the morning. Like Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve.
Go early.
And then we were out of there by noon, and that's when everyone was coming up.
Yeah.
And we did the same thing that you guys kind of did, is we would go back to Corona. There'd be some people at Corona, so we'd go back to the front, and then when there's no one at the front, just ski the front. Just lap the front on Alpenglow, and you get a zillion runs in because you're on the super fast lift, and there's a good snow, and then once it fills up there, go to the back, or vice versa. So
we just rotated in the morning.
And just dodge the crowds all day.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I prioritize when I ski, is avoiding crowds first. And good snow is a very important, maybe not even second, but a very important part of the equation. But go early, you're going to miss the crowds. I think all the days we skied over the holidays, when we left, we were like, whoa, look at all these people. In fact, I took a photo at Vail on Sunday of the gondola line when I was leaving, which was at 11 a.m., and it was all the way across the bridge. It was insane. But I had skied from 8:30 to 11 a.m., and I shared a chair with like one or two of people throughout the whole day. And I skied front and back of Vail.
But at Mary Jane, we opted to do the Challenger lift, which had a super weird orientation for the lift line for some reason. It was really weird. But we chose to do that one over and over because the rest, it accessed all the bump runs we wanted to do that day. We knew it was going to be a short day anyway because we figured crowds were going to get worse. So we didn't go to the high-speed chair because I figured that was probably out of the gate. And I mean, that lift line, even though it was pretty long in terms of that line, it wasn't a bad wait.
Yeah, it was less than 5 minutes.
Although we cheated because we figured out the way they had the gates where people were loading up, they had just done it. It was just a weird configuration. And if you just went around the side, there were 2 lines that no one was accessing because you had to go, instead of filling into the front gates, you just went around to the back, and they had 2 more lines back there. And if you knew that, you just waited like literally less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, there was 3 lines total of 2 people, and one of them was 5 times longer than the others.
And you just went and just like merged into traffic.
And then if you went to the far line, you basically could ski all the way up to the merge.
Weird.
It was weird.
It was also weird. They were not scanning tickets.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
like little booth things that you usually go through weren't working, and the guys and the lifties were not scanning. So I don't know if, I guess it was maybe New Year's Eve.
Our friends at Winter Park are like, thanks a lot. Now.
Yeah.
We can cut that out if we think we need to.
It was just a free for all day at Winter Park. But
Okay, and then I said last thing at Vail, but this is for every ski area. This is for every ski area that I saw a cool saying, and it said the best skier on the mountain is the person that's having the most fun. And that is the truest thing in the world. And I easily on Saturday was the best skier on the mountain at Vail, because the PowderRoy, the back bowls and the powder and the fresh tracks, and it's not often you get to turn around, look back up and see your turns for like a quarter mile and see what you did. And yeah, the best skier on the mountain is the person that's having the most fun. So keep that in mind, especially if you're just getting into skiing, is ski where it's fun. Like, you don't have to go ski Hairbag Alley, you know. In fact, I would recommend against it, but go find what works for you and ski there.
That's my favorite part about skiing with you guys is there's always a groomed run next to trees, and you guys go do your tree skiing and have that fun, and then I'm having fun making turns down a straight line. That's what I think makes it.
Eventually, we're going to burn you.
Yeah.
In fact, if we invite you to Mary Jane, yeah.
I know she was pushing to go on New Year's Eve. I'm like, look, let's just.
Ryan's on ski strike still.
Yeah.
No, we went skiing yesterday. I didn't want to take you to Winter Park because there's nothing for you. Let's not start this one.
Okay, hold on. I just really quick need to make a differentiation. But ski strike versus the ski patrol strike. Yes, just to be clear. We call it ski strike when someone like puts their foot down or starts pouting or decides to go to the lodge because, you know, they're not having fun or whatever. We call that ski strike. Or they forget their pants and then just sit in the car and pout.
Yep.
I wasn't buying new
That's
pants.
a real thing.
So we call that ski strike. So we will be talking about the patrollers strike in Utah. So unrelated, that's what we call ski strike.
Yeah, ski strike's over for me. We went skiing yesterday and I'm back.
Are you going today, though?
No.
Yes.
Did you bring ski pants down?
Nope.
You guys better get home and get that stuff.
I'm on my way home.
You need to be keeping that stuff in the car. I just want to put that out there. Like, at least your clothes, you should just leave it in the car. And then that way, when work gets done early and we're all like, let's go skiing, you can go.
Yeah, but aren't your clothes cold when you put them on because they've been in the car?
Cold clothes are better than no clothes.
Fair.
Says Mel, who has the ski van with 18 pairs of skis.
And a boot warmer.
I do not have a boot warmer. We do have a boot warmer. I don't have one. Dave got one for Christmas last year. I forgot.
My boots. Oh yeah, they were in the car last night. So,
I could do cold clothes, but cold boots. It's just recipe recipe for disaster. But like you said, better than no boots. I'm not skiing today.
Can I really quick? I'm sure that the audience is dying to know if I got heated gloves for Christmas, like we talked about on our pre-Christmas episode. I did. And I love them. When we were at Mary Jane, my toes were chilly willy, but my hands were toasty warm.
Like, are they like battery?
They
operated?
are.
Like, how does that work?
So it has the pair that I got has 2 batteries per glove, and they slide into these little pockets. And unfortunately, they have proprietary like connectors, which is kind of annoying. So if you lose the charger, you have to buy you can't, like, there's not another device that you own that has the same thing. But I just put it even on just one little bar. So they have 3 bars, and the one little bar just heats the tip of the glove. I didn't know how it was going to work.
Wow.
And it is so
That's
nice.
a game changer.
Yeah. So thank you, Santa.
And let me describe these a little bit better for you. They're not gloves. They're, they're mittens.
Oh, jeez.
And so Melinda said she wanted heated gloves for Christmas. And man, what a rabbit hole that is. If you haven't gone into researching them, there's 2 kinds of heated gloves. There's the $75 Amazon kind, and then there's the multiple of hundreds of name brands. And so I wanted to get the Amazon ones, but I knew that wouldn't end up well. And so I feel bad. I'm going to butcher the name of this company. Hestra?
Hestra.
Yeah. And they're probably the most expensive hand warming, but they do make good stuff. I won't deny, but they don't mess around on the price tag.
No, but it's worth it.
No. And then Santa got a little frustrated with me because I said gloves, and I really actually like mittens, but it didn't occur to me gloves, mittens, whatever.
Santa should have known.
Well, when you search for gloves, there's, like I said, there's a clear distinction between Amazon and Hestra. Mittens, there's a whole bunch of choices, but I wasn't able to search all the choices because I was looking for gloves. I could not stand skiing in mittens.
Oh, I can't stand mittens. It's literally the worst thing ever. And the person we talked about earlier, Hannah Skier, one of the videos I saw of hers yesterday that really reinforced for me is you got to be comfortable and confident in what you're wearing. So it's not just comfort, but to like what you're wearing, and it's the same way when you dress up to go to work and you're like, man, I look good. You come into work and you're calling all the shots. And it's the same way with skiing. It doesn't mean it has to be expensive unless it's heated mittens. But you have to be comfortable and then confident. And I feel like I struggled for a lot of years. Like my pants I ski mogul, so my pants would always come down. So then I got suspenders, but they're suspenders for somebody that's like 11 feet tall. So that didn't stop my pants from coming down. So then I got a belt, like a stretchy belt. It's made by like one of the ski belt companies.
Arcade.
Yeah.
Love those belts.
I know.
And man, now I feel like when I ski, I'm in street clothes, and it goes a long ways. So if you have like cold fingers or cold toes, or you get too hot or you get too cold, like fix that stuff today, because, and I've been saying this for a long time, and I just discovered the Hannah Skier, the positive attitude is so important in skiing. And I struggled with it at Winter Park because I'm not a good enough skier to ski the Jane anymore, apparently.
No, that's not true.
That is false.
That is false. You are an amazing skier. I think it's like you said, it's
fitness.
the time of year, the fitness.
It's still early.
It is still early. And I did something at Winter Park on whatever the other day that I've maybe almost never have done. And I switched skis in the middle of the day because I felt like the new Black Diamond blah blah 98s. I can't remember the name. They're great skis.
Blah, blah.
And they're made for places like Vail. But skiing really tight Volkswagen sized bumps, they definitely made me more timid than I wanted to be. So I went back and swapped those out for my Rosignals, which are 187 centimeters as opposed to 180 centimeters. And that extra length kept me out of the ruts and the bumps. But they also weigh like 75 more pounds per ski. So then my fitness was exacerbated.
I think the best thing about this podcast is that all the numbers are accurate. There is no exaggerations. Yes. Yeah.
You can go and look up the Black Diamond blah blahs and you'll know exactly what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Blah, blah 98.
Yeah. There's only so many.
And the 98. And again, if you're an experienced skier, you're like, quit mentioning this, but I think it's important to understand. The 98 is the width of the ski right under your ski boot. And it really is important. The smaller that is, the quicker your skis are going to turn, the better they're going to do at speed. And the bigger that is, the easier it's going to be to ski through crud and stay on top of the snow. And where I've always liked powder skis is you only need a couple inches to ski on powder skis. And Chicky T's like, time to wrap it up, guys, because he wants somebody to throw the ball for him.
Ball is life with Chicky T. So yeah, I think it would look good, feel good, ski good, right? I think that's kind of
look good, feel good,
ski good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the best skier on the mountain's the person that has the most fun. So that might be happening over on the blues and greens rather than on the.
There's always a day once a year that you just want to go rip groomers at,
Every day I ski Vail.
Adult skiing.
Big GS turns.
Okay, what does that mean? Adult skiing. You've said it like 10 times, and I'm like, yeah.
You know what? The listeners probably are also asking that question. Some of
So
them.
you don't go to the park.
As an up and coming adult skier, this is what it means for me. No bumps.
Less bumps, yeah.
Less bumps.
It's less bumps, but it's kind of, it's just cruising and taking it easy.
We're not dropping cliffs.
We're trying to find all the PowderRoy that's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what adult skiing, let me just set the stage for adult skiing. It's you get off the gondola or chairlift and you walk up to the A-frame sign that has the grooming report and you decide your day by that. You go, oh my gosh, Rivas has been groomed. Let's go ski Rivas. As opposed to, hey, if we go into the back and hike and traverse and do this, we'll get fresh powder turns.
We're going to ski trestle until there's one skier left. That's not adult skiing.
That is not adult skiing.
And I will say with adult skiing, so if you ski an all mountain ski, adult skiing is you want to actually see your ski perform in the way in which it was designed, so you can actually feel your ski cutting into the carve in the way that the ski maker wanted it. Like you can literally feel the ski doing the performing on the big turns.
Yes. And one last thing about Vail. No, I did. I almost had a collision with a person, and I you would have needed like an overhead drone shot to see whose fault it was, because it was really debatable whose was the downhill skier and who wasn't, because we were both kind of coming in from opposite directions. But where I'm going with this is be careful out there. Like there wouldn't have been a clear person at fault. But both of us might have gotten injured, and it really doesn't matter who's at fault. It's avoiding it at all possible. And what did get me in there to that situation is we were adult skiing, and I was probably going faster than I should have, not for the run, for the play. It was at the base. It was near the base, and I was kind of just trying to get to the finish of the run. And then me and some other, I think he was younger than me, we just came right at each other out of nowhere because we both were looking the other way. But man, I see how these collisions happen because I am one of the most attentive skiers with my head on a swivel all the time. And this person like transported from space to the line right next to me. And like I said, I don't know. I'll take responsibility because it was just unclear. Not that it matters, but the uphill skier has the right of way, or is it the other way around?
The downhill skier.
Because
Sorry.
you can't see the person behind you.
That's what I meant. And it was unclear because we were both on this gigantic run and we were both coming at the same angle from different directions.
And nowhere is that more relevant than Eldora.
Yes.
I mean, you get down towards the bottom of Alpenglow and your head, you have to pay attention. Yeah. Especially even yesterday, there's some little kids and they're in these funny little hot dog suits, and next thing you know, it's like tree or in between these two kids that have no respect for my space, and it's like
their turns are going. From
right so you just need to slow down and.
Yeah. So and again, it's the uphill skier's responsibility.
Correct.
And so that's where I was getting confused. And one way to avoid is ski in the edges, is people just don't like the edges, and nowhere more so than Vail. That Vail, at the end of the day, there's still corduroy on the edges because people just, I get it, the edges are scary, and if you do crash, the consequences are compounded by aspen trees and things like that. But nobody skis the edges at most of these ski areas, which is interesting. And
which is where all the stash of PowderRoy was.
Yeah.
it's where the PowderRoy was. And then also at Mary Jane, which is all moguls, it's where the easier moguls are. Like, and if you're struggling a little bit, consider getting over to the side. They're more spread out and they're not as defined. And it doesn't mean you're taking like at Mary Jane, it doesn't mean you're taking the easy way down. You're taking the easier way down. But I frequently ski the side, even at Mary Jane, even on a good day, just because the snow's better and there's less people there. So again, it goes back to like know your conditions, know where you're going, why you're doing it, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and speaking of conditions, the backcountry is no place to play around right now with the new snow and with the dry weather we've had, and then this new snow on top of it. It's considerably dangerous.
I believe it.
Right now, so I look at the Colorado Avalanche Information Center. Not that I'm a huge backcountry skier, but it's still fascinating, and it's a great source of information. It's an avalanche warning currently, which is high risk of triggering an avalanche even from afar. It's the Front Range, Park Range, Gore Range, and the Northeast Swatch Range are all just stay away.
We call that Seguchi.
Seguchi.
I'm just kidding.
It is the Swatch.
When we were in college, we drove through there all the time, and we always called it Seguchi. Sorry.
But I bring this up because it did read an article, 2 separate incidences in Utah, 2 backcountry skiers lost their life to avalanches, which not cool.
Unfortunate.
Terrible.
And my understanding is they were both equipped with beacons and avalanche gear, but they were both going by themselves. They were both solo. So separate incidents, solo skiers equipped, which, I'd love to hear feedback because I don't backcountry ski that much either. I like to inbounds uphill, but I get there's value to having like a beacon, but when you're by yourself, the idea of a beacon is for somebody to be able to dig you out. And when you're by yourself, then that person's not there. So you're essentially providing a beacon for recovery,
Right.
more than rescue is the way I see it. That could be completely wrong, but unfortunate.
You're on the right track. I mean, because in heavily trafficked backcountry areas, say you are alone, someone could see it happen and be able to get to you and then try and locate you before it's too late. But yes, I think
It's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I wouldn't go back there. I mean, a lot of places, they have systems in place to you check to make sure your beacon's on and working before you enter the backcountry. You know, you go through a gate that beeps. There's a lot of cool things that people like the Avalanche Information Center try and help prevent accidents like this.
There was a super cool thing at Mary Jane on Long Haul. I think it was Long Haul.
Brakeman.
Oh, Brakeman, where they actually, if you want to learn how to use that avalanche equipment, they've buried beacons, and you can. There's a sign that says, you know, like this is avalanche training area. They ask you to not dig them out, but you can go through and use your equipment and find where the beacons are located on the run. I thought that was a pretty cool.
That's really cool. Yeah,
Most ski areas have that.
I've never seen that sign before.
So that was weird because it's this bump run that none of those bump runs are very well traveled. And there's just a sign in the middle. And the first time I skied past it, I skied below the sign. So I was like, I wonder what that says. And the second time we skied by it, read it. But just so you know, at the top of Eldora, where you take your skins off, that's also an avalanche beacon testing area. And then I guess I don't know where it is at Copper Mountain, but I do recall seeing it at one point.
I've never seen it like out in the wild on just like an open trail. I've seen them like at the top of lifts. I think it's Ptarmigan at Loveland somewhere. They track it all out so it looks so you can't tell that they put a backpack here.
Right.
But they use it for training for ski patrol, for backcountry skiers, for whoever. But yeah, that's cool. It's just in the middle of the mountain.
Yeah, it was
Makes
cool.
it a little bit more realistic.
And to be clear on the unfortunate losses of life in Utah, and I wasn't questioning should you take that stuff if you're going by yourself. It just seemed like an odd that two separate people solo, well equipped. And one of the reasons that you want to be equipped every single time you go into the backcountry, because of the opposite is if you have an avalanche shovel and a probe and you see somebody else get buried, that's your only way you're going to realistically rescue somebody. And then as Ryan was saying, the CAIC, Colorado Avalanche Information Center in Colorado, is a fantastic website, or a Facebook page at least, to follow. And their website's awesome. And we saw they had a vehicle parked up on Loveland Pass. I'm not sure what they were doing up there, but a well-branded, like wrapped
I've seen it
pickup
before.
truck.
Yeah, I think that they go up there and they do research. Like they go study the snow so that they can update and be the most up-to-date on their website and the app and all that stuff.
But be careful. If you're going into the back, like, unless you are experienced, do not go into the backcountry this time of year. Like, there is nothing good to be gained. There's plenty of inbounds powder skiing right now. And if you aren't experienced on how to avoid issues and what is a safe slope and stuff like that, just stay out this time of year. And I know I'm part of a backcountry skiers Facebook group for Utah, is where some of this information on Utah came from. Join things like that, make connections on the Utah backcountry skiers group. They say, hey, here's who's going up to do this. And then 5 or 6 people are like, cool, we'll meet you at the parking lot and we'll head out at this time. And maybe people like that can take you along. But don't go into the backcountry by yourself. Don't cut the rope. It's just that time of year where there's no reason. I skied inbounds all week, and I skied as much powder in the last 10 days as I have in any time last year. So,
yeah, no, all good points.
And then other, I don't know, I would call it just bad news out of Utah, unfortunately, is the ski strike at Park City. No winners there. You know who the big losers are? Well, besides the ski patrol, but is the customers that they're running at a limited capacity because they can't safely open up all the terrain because of lack of qualified ski patrol. And then only what I'm reading on the internet from places like Unofficial Networks, and then try not to read the Facebook groups because most of that stuff is inaccurate. But there is a really interesting letter to, I believe it's to the CEO of Vail from some of the ski patrol unions.
Yes.
And it states out their claims, and it's like, stop sending strike breakers. And
But the strike breaker thing, I think that they're really leaning into, which I think is true, is how unfair is it if you're already someone who is being paid a pretty low hourly rate commiserate to your job, and now you live in Keystone and you're a Keystone patroller, and they're telling you that in order to keep your job, you need to go to Park City and be a strike breaker. So not only are you leaving your family and your job, but now you have to go somewhere else and work against someone who's...
If that's true. If they're holding people's jobs over their heads and making them go be strike breakers.
Well, and I took that just for clarity. That was in the letter from the
letter
ski union
that said stop forcing other patrollers to come. And this isn't a popular subject on any means, but I will say this. 30 years ago, I used to work in the newspaper business, and I worked for a newspaper company called Knight Ridder, and the Detroit Free Press went on strike, and I wanted to improve my career. I wanted to improve my lie at Knight Ridder, and I put my hand up to be a strike breaker.
What does that entail? Like
So
being a
that would be
strike breaker.
me going from Boulder, Colorado to Detroit, Michigan to essentially, I worked in circulation. So to essentially oversee the delivery of papers while the people that were on strike were on strike.
So
We're not getting paid and we're not doing the job. So it's basically you're going in, they call them scabs, and it's people who go in and take the job of the person who is striking. Yeah.
And in my case, and so I'm not supporting, I'm not taking a side here on the Vail situation yet. But in my case, I was a young whippersnapper and I said, this is going to get me major street cred at a giant corporation. And they ended up turning me down because they knew I was an idiot. I mean, I was like 23, 24 years old and I knew everything. I knew more than the CEO of Knight
course.
Ridder at the time. But they ended up turning me down because they were like, you can't hack it. But it did get me crazy street cred because they were like, here's somebody who's committed to the job. And I'm not trying to say that you should strike break. I'm just telling you what I did. So, and that doesn't make me an expert, but that does give me a little bit of insight. Like not everybody that's strike breaking is a horrible human being. It's a good chance to get ahead. We all know way back in the 80s when the NFL went on strike that strike breakers went and played football and made careers out of it. Mm-hmm. And so each individual person has to make the decisions by what's best for them. And that's hard because being part of a union or part of a corporation, that's the last thing they want you to do is make a decision what's best for you. Yeah. But I am not going to really take a side here. I've already stated many times I'm a shareholder of Vail Resorts, which has been a terrible investment. So I will say that. But if I had to tentatively take a side, it would be on the side of the patrol union. I think a good ski patrol organization, a good ski patrol team at your ski area makes for a better experience for people like me, because I want to ski in the dangerous places. I want to go ski avalanche prone terrain, but I want to be confident that I'm not risking my life for no reason.
The qualified people are going to come and scoop you up if you need.
And if things happen, things happen.
Or prevent it. Like they go out there and risk their lives.
Yeah.
To make sure that I can ski it safely. Yeah. I side with the patrollers right now. I mean,
the better patrol organization you have, the better opportunity you have to put on a good experience. If I'm not mistaken, and again, I hate the internet's so hard these days, but one of the big things is pay. And when you start to look at a place that sells $15 beers and $25 hamburgers saying they can't afford pay, it's concerning.
Well, you're part of the problem.
But then being an investor and saying their investment sucks, I'm just, and again, here's my ski pass getting canceled. I'm guessing there's upper level management issues at Vail that need to be resolved. You can't charge the crazy outlandish money and then not return a good investment to your investors and be fighting with your employees. Like you gotta pick one of those.
Yeah. So if I may, on unofficial networks, the letter that supposedly the union sent to the CEO of Vail, I'd like to just read the ending of it because I do think it ties directly into what we're talking about. And it says, as unions, we remain committed to the continued success of Vail Resorts and are hopeful that we can collaborate to address these concerns in a constructive and mutually beneficial manner, both now and in the future. We recognize the success of this company depends on the efforts of all involved. However, we believe that the $725 million in stock buybacks and the $863 million in cash dividends over the last 3 fiscal years which is a total of $1.59 billion, could be more equitably shared between the investors who passively accumulate wealth, Dave, and the workforce whose labor makes this financial prosperity possible. And that's signed by the Breckenridge Ski Patrol Union, the Crested Butte Professional Ski Patrol Association, the Keystone Ski Patrol Union, and the Park City Professional Ski Patrol Association.
Yeah, and like I said, I lightly support the union here. The one place that I question is doing this strike over the holidays was meant to do the most damage to the corporation. And then,
well, as the Amazon strike, as like
yeah,
the
no,
UPS,
that's the whole idea in a strike is to have leverage.
Yeah,
but them saying like how the investors did so well is not. The numbers sound big, but trading stocks is a big part of what I do in life. Personally, is what I do, and I have. Out of 100 stocks, I have 75 that perform better than Vail Resorts. So when you hear
well, Vail's got a lot of expenses. Like, I mean, I'm sure that of that number that we're looking at, that's not the bottom line on the profit and loss statement. It's how much they brought home.
But their shareholders aren't making out like bandits. You would be much better just to put your stuff in a mutual fund than to invest in Vail. I've been trying to get out of Vail for 10 years as an investment,
Really?
But it's never gotten to the point where it made sense to get out. Just bleed forever.
just bleed forever.
But I think with the cost of living in mountain towns and the fact that it's a seasonal job, I think that being paid $23 an hour or 25 or whatever it is, I think that they're asking to go either from 23 to 25 or 25 to 28.
As part of it, yes.
Yeah, as part of it. And I think that, I mean, for the people who keep the mountain safe and rescue people who are injured, whatever, I think that it's not an unfair ask for them to get a reasonable wage.
Yeah, I don't disagree, especially with what I've seen as a lack of employee housing in a very expensive ski town, not just Park City, but anywhere. Yeah. Any employee for any mountain, it's hard. I mean, it's really hard, and no one should have to sleep in their car just because they want to ski and make skiing better for other people. And, you know, if that's a choice, great, you have a cool van.
There's no shortage of money in the mountains at the ski resorts. I mean, Vail, I think, was $329 on Saturday was the lift ticket price.
Oh, jeez Louise.
That's insane.
$329?
$329. And just to be clear, this is what boggles my mind is our Epic passes were like $950.
I think it was $999.
$999. So just the math there is you just have to ski 3 times to break the window price. Now, nobody pays the window price, but still, you just have to ski 3 times, and then your 4th time, you're already cutting into that window price. But,
well, and I look at it like my brother is going to come up and is going to ski for spring break, and they want to come bring their kids up. Kids got to do lessons.
Don't go to Vail.
And so, so that's, I mean, literally they've decided because the girls are pretty young and they're learning, they're going to do.
Let me guess.
Okay.
Ski Cooper.
They're going to do Ski Cooper.
I was going to say Loveland.
Yeah, well, Loveland would also be a good.
Loveland's closer.
But they're going to stay in Leadville. They're going to go up and do Ski Cooper. And, you know, it's affordable for a family of 4 to be able to do lessons and lift tickets.
Oh, man, that breaks my heart. I won't see them. Well, I wish, back to the strike, I just wish we could get it resolved. I'm sure the money's there to give the unions what they want. In the long run, I think skiing and college football are on the same trajectory that things are going to change. Like with the NIL and all this just stuff that's just, and maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem sustainable. And I know the Icon Pass this year is the first year that I was like, man, That's a little much for my blood. I mean, it was $1,400, $1,300, and I'm willing to pay that because of Eldora being on there. But yeah, Eldora leaves the Icon Pass piece to the Icon for $1,300. You know, the Epic Pass is a way better deal.
Yeah, for $9.99, it's pretty enticing.
Yeah, and the app.
And the app, yeah.
I mean, people are like, who cares about the app? I mean, wait till you have the app, and then it's like the app for our car. Like once you have it, you're like, how did I live without it? And
I mean, one of the coolest things is we, as I think a lot of people know, we did the Epic Pass, but we did their pay program, the pay as you go program or whatever, the financing. And so we didn't get a physical pass in the mail this year. And I was like, oh no. And all you have to do is open the app on your phone and that's your pass.
Yeah.
And last year's pass worked.
Yeah.
And
Well, I don't know where mine was.
I don't understand why that's hard for other ski areas and stuff. Like, I assume it has to do with cutting down on fraud. Like, and I don't know how that would work because it's a barcode that has to be active and yada da da da. But why they make you get a new pass when last year's pass at Epic works fine?
Well, and the funny thing with Epic too is as we went into the gondola line at Vail, you know, I heard this one lady, she kept picking me up and I was not in her line and she was like, I just keep getting Melinda. And I'm like, I'm Melinda. And then you can see she looks at the photo, looks at me and says, you're good to go. And then you're off.
Yeah, the RFID, they try to point it at you because they have like a radio frequency identifier gun, but it picks up other people in the line. So it's kind of funny. They're like, are you Jim? Bill? Dave? I'm Dave. And they send you through. Last thing, I promised I wasn't going to talk about Vail anymore.
Too late. You've already said last thing 3 times.
No, but you guys will appreciate this. Yeah, of course they have my email address. Of course they know I skied, but they sent me a survey. And it was a really well thought out survey. It was a little longer than I care for a ski day, but it was, how was the parking? How was the food? How was the lift lines? How did the app work? Did you use the app to figure out how long the lift lines were? And I love surveys. I'm a big fan of surveys. I don't know if all companies do anything with it. I know, for example, like if you give Apple a bad review on a survey, they just throw it in the trash and pretend they didn't get it. But other places, you give them a bad review, they'll reach out. I gave Vail all 9s and 10s for skiing on Saturday, the 29th of December, which if you would ask me a year ago or whatever, I'd be like, that's not a day you're going to give 9s and 10s. That's going to be a day you're going to be upset.
I do like that. United does that.
Yeah.
Every once in a while.
Delayed. If you have a delayed or canceled flight.
Well, it's not every flight I get one.
United.
But when I do get them, I like filling them out because I feel it's helpful if they read them. But
I don't think United reads them.
Yeah, probably not.
But if Vail reads them, let us know. I'd be interested.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, they're not going to share their trade secrets, what they do with that data, but maybe they can just give us a little bit of insight of a whole bunch of people complained about lift lines or something like that.
You know what? I did it with CenturyLink / Lumen. We were doing a new install and I gave a scathing review because it was super poorly executed. And man, my phone rang. I'm not joking. 20 minutes after I put that thing in, bring, bring. Now, he didn't really believe me, and in the end, they got it resolved, but I couldn't believe how quickly a supervisor called after I put that survey in.
Yeah, performance-based pay is the way that stuff works.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go give someone a bad review and see if they call me.
No.
All right, so we're going to try to get out of here to ski. We'll pop out another episode next week. Today, the plan, at least, is to take the uphill skis to Eldora.
Oh, nice.
And, and I'm going to gripe at Eldora. The uphill skiing's closed over the holidays, so it just reopened yesterday. And, yeah, I know I live in Boulder County. There's a million places I could go uphill ski. But like I said, I'm not a super accomplished backcountry skier. And so, and I know there's places like Caribou where it's like 25 degrees, so you don't have a lot of risk. But anytime you go out into the wilderness by yourself, there's some risk. And I would rather just do it at Eldora. And so that opens today. So the skis that I bought for uphilling, the blah blah 98s, which are already destroyed, are going to get to go uphilling for the first time.
You put touring bindings on this?
I had the touring bindings. Welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah.
I had the touring bindings removed from.
I thought you. Anyway,
vendors.
nice.
Yeah.
I want to get into that.
It's great.
I think
It's
it'd
great.
be- Yeah.
You know, and we'll just make this the longest podcast ever. Having your ski boots on and being in the wilderness, it doesn't really matter as much about if you're going uphill or down. Like once you're out there doing it, you're home and it just feels good. And I'll get to listen to music. Speaking of, I found some really good new music.
Okay, you know what?
I thought he was going to say, speaking of Vail.
Well, it was he got it. He found it when he was at Vail.
No, Tedeschi and Trucks cover a Clapton album live, and Trey Estacio from Fish sings, and it's bonkers. It's the greatest ski music ever because it's improvisational jamming, which is what skiing is.
Basically.
Mel's giving me the wrap it up.
Rap.
Ryan's going to edit this because he's not skiing.
I edited it. It's just going out.
Yeah, I don't see any edits except that cough.
And you said a bad word at the beginning.
I said
Asinine.
I fell on my.
a 9.
I've only fallen twice this year.
So what? We can't say like.
Okay. This is we've got some kids that listen to this show.
We do have kids that listen to this show.
You're gonna have to beep that or cut it.
All right, until next time, when we do episode 25. What anniversary is 25? Silver?
25th anniversary.
Yeah, but you know how
What's the gift?
the jewelry industry.
Oh, yeah.
So whatever it is, we'll do some kind of link up. Peace.